Okay, my friends, here it is. The Saturday morning live stream at the Garden Like a Viking headquarters, Zone 5/6, Northern Indiana. And it is 2025. That's crazy. 2025. I remember being in school in a classroom. I don't know why this memory stuck out to my mind, but the teacher was like, and now what year is it? And we were all like, 1992. And 2025 seems like the future, doesn't it? So, but actually, if you are part of the Thrive Tribe, you know that everything is not what it seems. Okay, guys, so let us know where you're at. Let us know what you are growing. Hopefully, you didn't start any seeds yet, unless, well, it depends. If you're in certain zones, but not zones 2 through 8. Nothing, or 7 at least, okay? Don't even get me started. All right, let's see who's here. Lucia Bora, hello, my friend from the Netherlands. Says Happy New Year and lots of love for all the Vikings. Yes, my friends. Heather Fox, good to see you here. Yes, Happy New Year. Steve Johnson says, hello, Nate. Thanks for always showing up and for all the helpful information over the years. Absolutely, guys. And we are just getting started. We've only been doing this YouTube thing a few years. I think the channel in February will be 3 years. Yes, in February it will be 3 years. And so thank you guys all for being here, of course. Okay, Melody McManus, but thank you for dropping by. You'll have to catch up on it later. No problem. Yes, Pilar says Happy New Year to Nate and the Viking Tribe. Yes, same to you, my friend. Same to you, Brian Airy. Cheryl Lindbergh says, good morning from San Diego. Ooh, nice and warm, huh? Venice Weeks, Happy New Year. Greetings from Townsville, North Queensland, Australia. Ooh, yeah, you're in the heart of the growing season right now, yes? Nice. Jerry Bates, the beef farmer, says, wishing everyone a brilliant new year and informative growing season. I like it. Pam says, many thanks, Nate, for the past year's awesome live shows in the Garden Channel and the Thrive Channel. So grateful. Yes, I'm happy you are here, my friend. Part of it. All you guys. Spawn Viking Grow, good morning, tribe. A chilly -5. Feels like -25. Now, is that Fahrenheit? And where are you at? Where are you at? What's up, Teets? Man, that carnivorous plant's looking pretty sad, but it's about to go into the basement, and it's not been getting its requisite flies. And so I looked it up, and I'm going to spray a solution, a nutrient solution. Grow More, the same thing, the same thing that I recommended for you. I'm just going to spray it lightly on the leaves. They said that that's really good to do. Then I'm going to put it downstairs where we got the microgreens and everything, where it's nice and somewhat warm. But guys, my microgreens grow so slowly because the house is, it's at 55 degrees Fahrenheit at night and 62 during the day. So, and the basement stays about 55, 57. So that's what the temperature of the grow. So everything just grows so slowly. It's like, but then if you do a heat mat, it's difficult. So it's a little bit of a fine tuning thing that we're having to do, but it's still working really good. We're still getting wheatgrass. We're getting arugula sprouts. I love the flavor of the arugula microgreens. Probably my favorite of all. But to make a whole dish just of the arugula microgreens is too much. It's a little too peppery. So we have arugula, we have broccoli, we have mammoth red cabbage, we have pea shoots, and we have sunflower microgreens, okay? And so we have all of those things, and we cut them and put them into the same bag, and we will and we make a salad out of it. It's so good. And they keep in the fridge for about a week, give or take, and it's awesome. So it gives us enough time for the next batch to come in, and so we're having that good life force with the meals. Even though it's the dead middle of winter, we are still able to grow that life force. Microgreens are the way to go, guys, in the wintertime, because you have less amount of time indoors, okay? When you're growing indoors, and microgreens is indoor growing, yes, in my experience, which is actually vast, not just with microgreens, but you know my experience in Northern California over those years. Uh, you want as little time as possible to be spent indoors. So people that have, that want to grow up full-size plants and stuff, you're opening the door for more and more issues. That's why microgreens are so wonderful, because 10 days, 15 days from start to finish, wheatgrass, just boom, 10 days, 2 weeks, just like boom, just like that. Even if the temps are cold, it's like 2 weeks and that's it. So the microgreens and the wheatgrass, we're juicing the wheatgrass is really the way to go. Yeah. And so like when people are growing other plants indoors and they want to have a big long 10-week veg cycle and then a big long 10-week flower cycle, it's like, no, man, it's best to only veg them for like a week, to have more plants, veg them for a week, then put them into flower out. You'll save yourself so much struggle. Okay. If you're not limited by plant count. But anyways, so guys, let's see who's here. Yes, Graham Divine says, good afternoon, Nate and everyone from a frosty Ireland. Yes. What do they say in Ireland? What's the greeting? When you would see somebody, like a friend? What would you say? So let's see here. Yes, we got a couple of donations already. Thank you very much. Brian Airy, $5 via PayPal. Says, get the new year started off right. Happy New Year, Nate. Absolutely, guys. And that's what we'll talk about on the Thrive channel on Monday at 10:30 a.m. Eastern time. How to set the pace, set the tone for the new year. Okay? Very important. What's up, TN Underground? Very important, all right? To set the pace, set the year off right. Now, there's another one from Donald Hughes. Thank you, my friend. $5 via PayPal. Says, this is for 2025 knowledge and what seeds to start and when in South Bend. What seeds to start and when? That's a huge question. Okay, that's a huge question. And I will make a video on that pretty soon. But you have months before you need to worry about starting seeds. Okay? If you're in South Bend, Indiana, which is pretty much where we're at, I mean similar, then the first thing you will start is ginger, and then your onions, and then the sweet potato slips. Okay? But none of that happens till the very end of February at the earliest. All right? You don't need to, because the only ones that really matter is the onions, and you want to get those, start them about the last week of February, first week of March. Then we're going to plant them into the garden the second week of April 20th, depending on certain things, and then we will harvest them, when it's time, which I think is like July, so we will, but those are very important. All right. Now, over the years, I've refined the system of starting ginger and sweet potato slips. It used to take like 8 weeks, 10, 12, 16 weeks to start that stuff. But now that the system is on point, meaning airflow, temperature, growing medium, nutrients, all that kind of stuff is on point for my indoor growing system when it comes time for that. They grow so fast. I started the last week of February 2 years ago, and you remember me showing you those. They were in a 10-20 tray, and they were like this tall, and it was just like too big. And then when I put them outside, they have a hard time transitioning. Remember that. The longer they spend indoors, the bigger they get indoors, the harder the transition is going to be. When they are, the younger and fresher that they are, the easier that transition will be, because they've spent less time in that artificial environment. Yeah. So, because outdoors is just so much different. And so you really want to make sure that you have just the optimal amount of time. And it's better to err on the side of not enough or of too little time than too much time. The plants will get all big. I see this all the time with people's pepper plants and their tomato plants, the heat-loving stuff that you can't put out until a certain time. they've got them indoors and they're getting huge and they already got flowers on them and stuff and they already got little tomatoes on them. It's like, and then they're like, well, I'm going to plant these outside. I'm like, when did you start them? Well, 16 weeks ago. And now they're 4 feet tall and you put them outside and they just sit there for weeks and weeks trying to transition and trying to take hold, but they can't because that's not what they grew up in, you know? So it's best to just wait. It's just best to wait. Okay. So, all right, guys, let's see what else is here. Okay. T Streets has got harvested chard, pak choi, celery, few tomatoes, kale. Nice. That sounds good. P Morton says Japan 9C, broccoli, onions, and starting some sage and peppers indoors. Nice. You'd have a totally different setup than, or timing. Yeah. Val says, thank you, Nate. You have transformed my growing experience. Much love and respect. Yes, same to you, my friend. Thank you for the positive energy that you bring to both channels, to both to the tribe. Yes. Let's see here. I've got one more. 1 second. And okay. Nancy D. Wall, $10 via Cash App. Thank you, my friend. Just says, brr. Yeah, must be cold where you are as well. It's pretty cold here. Yeah. I mean, it could get a lot colder. We finally have some snow. So there's like that much snow, which is nothing compared to like what we used to have. But it's all good. Lauren Collier says, Sacramento, California. Oh, I spent time in Sacramento back in the day. Growing lettuces, kale, Brussels sprouts, onion, and garlic. Nice. What kind of onions are you growing? Let's see. What's up, Big Wes? Good to see you here, my friend. Can't see the forest for the trees says, start winter sowing seeds now to save time later on. That is true. That is true. Winter sowing is a different thing. And it's nice. Winter sowing can save you a week or two, you know, a couple of weeks. Ooh, sorry. Winter sowing can save you a couple of weeks. Winter sowing is best if you don't have an indoor setup and if you just want a very small jump on the season and you want your plants to have no, I wouldn't say no, but you want them to have as little transplant shock as possible because there's still transplant shock, but it's not nearly as much. So I winter sow. I used to winter sow more than I do now because I got such a good setup downstairs. But when I was winter sowing, I used the milk jugs and I would plant all sorts of things in there. And it works. It works good. I mean, it makes nice hardy seedlings that come up at about the right time. And now it works really good for things like cabbages, kale, broccoli, even onions can do this way. They can, depending on what area you're in. Onions you really want to start indoors though, because you want them to be as grown up as possible by the time they get transplanted. Winter sowing, yeah, definitely is really good. Now, things like tomatoes and peppers, the heat-loving stuff, it can be hit or miss because they can sprout because of the artificial environment of the little terrarium from the milk jug, and then we could get a rogue freezing night and they all die. You know, so that's happened to me. So really, in my experience, it's best for cold hardy stuff, and if you don't have a good setup indoors, and if you just it still saves you a few weeks, and it also I'm at the point now where I start everything. Even squash, even cucumbers. I know a couple years ago I made those videos and stuff because that's how I did it up to that point. I never started those certain crops. I only direct sowed them. But that's because my ability to start seeds and to understand the process and stuff was still developing. It was still refining, as it still is now. Now the seed starting is so on point that, and the way that I transition them is so on point that they hardly even realize that they're being like shifted around. You know, it's not like you don't have to bang them out of the pots and destroy the roots and all that kind of stuff and plumb it into the ground and then, no, The timing's right, all that stuff's right. So guys, I literally start everything, every single thing. There's nothing that I direct sow anymore. Corn, I would. Corn this upcoming year, if we grow some, I will direct sow that. And probably, well, okay, peas and beans, those as well, because there's so many of them and they're so hardy and prolific and they grow so fast. But beets, I started, okay, and carrots as well, I will direct sow. But beets, I transplanted beets last year for the first time and they worked amazingly. It's so much better for me, in my opinion and stuff, in my experience, to start the things. That way you have the thing already sprouted and you can say, okay, here's one plant. You say, okay, here's another one. You're not just randomly sowing and then maybe some come up and then you got to thin later and then maybe none of them came up because they all got annihilated by slugs, but you're thinking that your seed wasn't viable. You're like, oh, I guess it was old seed. But it did come up, but they all got wiped out by slugs in one night, which can happen easily. And so I found to just start that stuff indoors and plant it outside and you'll have amazing success. Okay. Because remember, when them little seeds are coming up, they come up. If you watch them, how they come up like they don't just poke right above the ground. They come up folded in half. Yeah. Boom, like that. And then they stand up straight and then they will start their thing. But as they're coming up, they push up like that. And it's the neck of the plant that is just starting to get above ground and it's super tender. And so the slugs will literally go through and just mow down the whole row of peas or bean or whatever it is that you planted. They'll just eat them all, just eat them all in one night. Okay. And then you're like, well, then peas never came up. Oh, but they did. They just got wiped out in one night. So there's that. Guys, is this sound working out? Is this sound working out? I hope so. Let's see here. TN Underground says, loving making all the organic fertilizers. My plants are thriving even in the cold. Nice, nice. Let's see here. Whoops. Right. Oh, yeah. Oh, man, I'm way, way, way behind in the chat. Okay. So, Donna Dwyer says, so glad I found your channel. I've been watching for probably 2 years and have learned so much. This past year was my biggest harvest I've ever had because of your teachings. Thank you. You are very welcome, my friend. I'm happy to hear that. So how many of you guys have been having great success this past couple of years? Probably lots of you. Yeah, probably lots of you. I know I have. So it's fantastic. And this year is going to be the best of all. I mean, each year is different, but this year is going to be pretty amazing. So, because I know I'm not going to waste my time, not waste time, but I'm not going to allocate this real estate to plants that I know are not going to give the highest return on investment. And I constantly refine this over the years, of course. But now we've got these 12 beds in here, 12 beds, 4 by 10, and then 2 beds that are 2 by 10. And then 1 bed that is 20 by 2. Okay, so those are for the trellis crops, those smaller ones or more narrow ones. But that's a lot of real estate. So we're going to grow potatoes, sweet potatoes, garlic, onions, beets, carrots. We're going to lay off of so many of the leafy greens. I'm going to stick with the ones I know work really well. And that is for the leafy greens for the summertime. It's going to be yod fa because it's a heat-loving plant. You can eat the whole thing. And I'm tired of all the Asian greens and stuff going to seed, you know? So you wait to plant those until later in the year, yeah? So that you have fall time, all right? But arugula and yod fa and a couple of others for the leafy greens, yeah? I just can't wait. Oh my gosh. Because it's such a amazing time, you know, from like basically from once the chives start coming up until November. It's just eaten from the garden every day. It's like, oh, what are we going to have? Oh, well, what's in the garden? All right. We have the meat, of course. Meat is the foundation of the whole thing. But then we additional, always eaten veg, tubers, veg, and stuff like that. So it's just so great. Ryan Kelly says, good morning to you, Nate, and Vikings from sunny Rarotonga, Cook Islands. Beautiful summer morning. Cook Islands. Wow, that sounds tropical and pleasant. Ooh, Spawn Viking. Okay, yes, Fahrenheit in western North Dakota. Yeah, oh yeah. Hey, good job, Creative Soil. Says, hello, Nate and Tribe. I've been cannabis free since just before Christmas. It's my present to me for the new year, waiting for the vivid dreams to go away. Yes, yes. Well, that can have a buildup in the system. Thankfully, you're not carrying a lot of fat on you because the cannabinoids, the artificial cannabinoids from the external source can lodge themselves in the fatty tissues. And so it can take a long time to detox from cannabis completely. But hey, good job, my friend. Yep. Yes. Let's see here. I remember back in the day, they said the acronym for sober is son of a B, everything's real. Makes sense. Lucas, hello, my friend. I haven't seen that name in a long time. Says, my microgreen took a while to sprout, but are rocking now. Also got Swiss chard and lettuce going in the basement. Nice. Good. Oh, Lauren Collier. Okay, celery. I forgot to say that about celery as well. Celery is one of the things you want to start nice and early. Celery takes a long time to grow. So you can start celery even with your onions. So watch the videos that are upcoming for all of that, because when I make a video about it, I think the whole thing out and I make sure about everything I'm saying. Here, I'm just flow of consciousness spewing off the top of, shooting from the hip. So I can't give like, we'll start this date and that date and all that kind of stuff, Okay, let's see here. Ooh, Nancy Dewall says, good afternoon. Big winter storm hitting tomorrow. Won't be leaving the house. That's what they said. If you guys watch Ryan Hall, y'all, who I like, that weather forecaster and his personality. But, they're a little clickbaity, of course, as all content creators seem to have to be now. There's a major winter storm heading your way. And we got like this much snow, like nothing. A couple of inches, an inch or two of snow. So I'm not convinced. I mean, these are really mild temperatures, basically. Look at this. Here's our forecast. You see? It's not even that cold, and not it's just not really that cold. But that's cool. Whatever. So Joe Slack says, can I add carrots and celery to cabbage ferments? Now, I don't have experience fermenting cabbage or celery, actually. So I can't say for sure. But so I can't say for sure. But the thing I can say for sure is that these ferments have been amazing, and that there is a huge difference. Look here. There is a huge difference between the chopped cabbage that I have. So this is some more traditional. This is just cabbage, salt, and caraway seed. Okay, a little bit of flavoring. But I chopped this one with the Chinese cleaver. Okay, so I chopped it up like that, fermented it. Now on the same day, I shredded real finely this cabbage, which is just cabbage and salt. And I can say that this one is very different from this one. The texture of this one and the flavor, it's more than just having the caraway seeds. It's something about the shredded one is amazing. I really like it done this way. This is still good, but it's a lot crunchier. So you hit big things of crunch, because it's raw cabbage. But this one is much more palatable. Am I saying that right? So I have found that. So therefore, I'm going to be looking to find a way to shred it more effectively. Now, do any of you guys have experience? My uncle gave me this this food grinder, which we use for klub, which is like a traditional Scandinavian potato dish. But I'm wondering if this is going to work. If I put on the coarse thing, it says grind vegetables. So I wonder if that will work. If I can just stuff it down there. But you still got to cut it pretty slim. You still got to cut it pretty small. So maybe I'll get the slicer and shredder. I'm just not sure if it's really going to save me a lot of time or not. A lot of times gadgets don't actually save you all that much. Yeah. Grant, oh, that's what you say in Ireland? What about ya? Pronounced as what about ye? What about ye? What about ye? Huh? Oh, nice. I did remember from living with the English that they would say, "You all right?" And "You all right?" Yeah, you all right? Yeah. Kind of mumble a few things. And at first I was like, "What do you mean, am I all right?" Yeah, I'm fine. But I mean, if you're from America, we don't say that. You know, we don't. That's not like a greeting. You all right? Yeah. Why? I mean, do I look? Is something wrong? Because we would interpret that as, "Are you okay? Are you okay?" You know, that's like the same kind of thing. But in those countries, they say different things. Old Kefir says, "Thank you for your 3-part non-aerated tea. It helped me grow the best cannabis ever." Oh yeah. So you are talking about the, no doubt, you're talking about the bat guano and the seabird and the, yeah, definitely. That one is amazing. It really is amazing. So Pepper Gardner says, question about the walking onions. How long can we expect them to last after harvested? Not long. Do you mean the bulbs or what? Because the bulbs will last a long time, months, you know. But the onions, like the green onions and stuff, they're like green onions, you know. So they'll last, or the shallot will last a couple of weeks in the fridge, a week or two. But you know, if you've got them outside, just use them fresh. Yeah. Okay, Jerry Bates, this is a great question. Says, I have seen several videos on industrial vertical farming, and it seems to profit from only expensive high-end products. What is your take on this? Yes. So you'll see a lot of videos, vertical farming is the future, and you'll see a warehouse that looks like a laboratory. And food is grown with drones, and they show drones all up in there, and they show scientists in lab coats with a iPad and using technology to innovate blah 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 food production and blah blah. They're totally delusional. They're totally absolutely delusional. They don't understand anything about how life on this planet works. They understand how to create it in a laboratory. Okay, so look what we can do. But they don't understand the cycle. The life in the soil is everything. The soil, without soil, you're not getting the nourishment. Period. End of story. That's how the plants evolved to function. And so when you see all of that, all those scientists and their lab coats with their expensive stuff, and vertical farming is the way of the future, that's propaganda. They are trying to convince you that that's what the way of the future. Why does it need to be the way of the future? Because we've already got soil, like we have for eons of time. Well, it's progress. It's better. It's you can fit more. It uses less water. They come up with all these little reasons, but none of them are worthy of that. So why are you sacrificing the nutrient value and the life force and what it does to the body? And so instead, you've got miles and miles. Here's what it comes down to: is that everything you see in that pristine warehouse is privatized. It's all private. The lights all require money. The miles and miles of plastic tubing and plastic this and that all requires huge amounts of money. That someone owns the building, someone owns the air handling system. It's all mega money. And they say, but they're convincing you that this is progress. You see, this is the way food will be grown in the future. Well, why? Well, if I'm being honest, it's because we've totally poisoned and killed the soil. So we kind of have to, because the land doesn't yield anymore. And all we're eating anyways is genetically modified corn and soybeans and wheat. So, sure, let's make a bunch of money trying to push this image to people. That's not the way. That's not going to be the way. So you can get sick and malnourished trying to eat that kind of stuff if you like. Then go ahead. If you're a technophile, a techno optimist, that technology can save everything. Well, humans are so innovative. We'll just come up. Who cares if we poison the ecosystem or the soil that sustains us? Humans are so innovative. We'll just create a clever new technology that will overcome that. This is the ultimate hubris of man. This is the ultimate, it's just laughable, okay? So, I mean, I could go on and on about that, but my life experience and traveling the world and seeing the things has all led me to the understanding that you cannot improve on perfection. You cannot improve on the natural cycle of things. You grow food in soil. Yes? The old way, the original way. And so, and the land doesn't need a bunch of money inputs. I mean, land now is cost prohibitive for most people to even consider growing their own food, like on scale or anything. But other than that, everything else already comes from nature. And so it's not profitable. You have a couple of animals on a couple of cow, or a couple, some chickens and things like this, rabbits. You can have all sorts of things. You get animals up in the mix, or even without animals, and you're generating your own fertilizer, your own inputs. You're generating, the land regenerates. But in the vertical farming warehouses, that's not happening. There's no regeneration happening. Every single seed, everything is documented, privatized, profited from, and then shipped to you. Yeah. So, okay, you got your little head of lettuce, but yeah, I could just go on. So that's my thoughts on that. Okay. So those are my extraordinary. It's so much, guys. It's like the solar panel push, and there's so many pushes going on when you see, okay, but the main thing that's happening is that a certain group of people are becoming filthy rich off of this whole push. But what's actually happening isn't correlating with what's being said. Okay, so anyways. What's up, Big Will Dog? Says Nate, I visited UF Seeds and was impressed. They still had a ton of garlic. Super friendly staff there too. Definitely, yes. You're talking about Urban Farmer Seeds in Westfield, right? Outside of Indy, a little bit north of Indy. Yes, we've been there as well. And they've got amazing amounts of garlic and very friendly staff, very cool company. Not what you expect, though. I mean, they're an internet-based company. I mean, they got a store, but it's not like, you're not really like supposed to go there and shop. You can, but it's just super cool, isn't it? Yeah. That's where we got that Turkish red, guys. Last minute, I ordered like 5-10 pounds of the Turkish red, planted a bunch of it because I really like that Turkish red. It turned out to be my favorite because, one, it's very potent, but two, it is very easy to peel. Yeah, very easy to peel, and it's available. It's available. So, yeah. Ooh, Danielle Patron. I winter sow my native perennial flowers and indoor sow my veggies, so I get a head start. That is a good one. Yeah, that's true. Perennial native flowers and things, absolutely. That's the best thing to winter sow. Yeah. What's up, Brad May? Says, very happy to get on the live chat. I always have to watch it afterwards because I do the farmer's market every Saturday morning. from 9 to 1, but today we are very slow. Nice. What do you sell there at the farmer's market? So, okay, let me catch up a little bit, guys, because I think I'm like way behind on the chat. What's up, Tyson Clements? Yes. Anas Azul says, what kind of nitrogen in JLF? That varies widely, but you can make ones that are nitrogen dominant, definitely, like the fresh grass JLF, or the manure JLF, the chicken manure JLF, or the fish JLF, definitely. Those all work really good if you're needing nitrogen. Yeah. And so really the best of all is the fish. I mean, you could just get by on the fish fertilizer. It is that good. It really is. So that'd be the one I would focus on. Yeah. Donald Hughes says every year the garden is better because of Viking Knowledge. Absolutely, my friend. That's what's up. Oh, nice. Oh, you're in Fort Wayne, huh? Nice. Said I turned my entire front yard into a garden here. Wonderful. Yes. Where about? Pepper Gardener says, I have 3 beds, 4 feet by 50, trying to determine what's best to grow this year. It'll come to me. Yeah, definitely. You'd be surprised how many consultations I do with people that they're growing a bunch of stuff that they don't really use. That they like the idea of growing more than they actually understand how to utilize it. So they'll be growing a bunch of stuff and I'm like, oh yeah, okay, what'd you do with those? Well, to be honest, we didn't really get around to using those. So most of them just kind of rotted, or we dehydrated them. Oh, what are you going to do with them? Well, I'm going to look up some recipes. Yeah. A lot of times. So when I do a consultation, we go through a series of steps where I can uncover to the person, all right, what is important? What's going to be important for you to grow? Because the real estate in the garden is very valuable unless you just have tons of land. But even if you do that as well, you still have to maintain it. These practices, you still have to keep it free of weeds. You still have to have fertility. You still have to have water and protect it. Yeah, you still have to protect it from animals and things like that. Yeah. Okay. Let's see. Meyer Lemon says, Nate, it's been warm and rainy with very little snow so far. Some garlic came up and is about 4 to 9 inches tall. Rowing onions up too. Mulched well, but concerned. Where are you at again? I forget. Where are you at again? I forget this. Ryan Hall, y'all. That's right. Dawn. Let's see here. Let's see. So MKP, I haven't seen that name here, says we have red compact clay. What do you suggest to fix, improve for planting? Currently using raised beds for our garden, but sure miss planting in the ground. Yes, well, that depends. That really depends on what type of red compacted clay. If you're going to try and amend the native soil, or if you're just going to totally bypass the native soil, raised beds really is the way to go. I mean, for most situations, and what I'm talking about when I say raised beds is a hybrid. It's like you'll see here, we have 2x10s that are open to the ground. So they're raised, yeah, but they go into the ground as well. Now, even with the clay, if you do the right practices, then you will be able to, the roots will grow down through. Say you had a 2x10 or a 2x12, a 12-inch deep bed. You don't need 3-foot deep beds and stuff like that. That's for if you have back issues or whatever, that's fine, but it's not necessary. And so you can unless you're gardening on like concrete or something like that, then it is. But for most of us, raised beds only need to be a foot or less, so that with an open bottom, so it can go into the earth. Now, if you do the right practices, even that red clay will be suitable for the soil. If you have enough microbial life in there and you have enough organic matter in that 10 inches or in that foot to draw the worms up into it, like leaves and manures and things like this, or dry granulars, then the worms will come up into there. So you want to attract the worms into the bed. That's very important. So you can try composting in place. You can try core gardening, burying like a bale of wet straw in the middle of the bed. Yeah. So there's lots of different things to do, but I mean, that's a huge question that would take a long time to answer. So, Ryan Kelly says, "Hey Nate, where does the name Muri originate from? We have a famous beach in the Cook Islands called Muri Beach. Big tourist attraction." Interesting. I would like to know the history on that. But the Muri name is Scandinavian, Norwegian in origin. AK Froggy says, vertical farming is because they don't want anyone to own land. Well, yeah, absolutely. And at any point, they could just shut off the food production because it's all on lights. It's not using the sun. It's not, I mean, it's total insanity. Yeah, of course they are. You know, can't see the forest for the tree. Lately, I've seen a few videos on how vertical farms are failing / going bankrupt. Of course they are. It's money grab. It's a huge money grab. Like I feel, and this is just my personal opinion, that the delusional push towards the delusion that we are totally switching our energy sources from fossil fuels to renewables, clean renewables. And everything's white, and then it almost looks like a drug advertisement, you know, where everybody's just kind of spaced out and happy, and like everyone's on whatever drug that they're trying to promote, you know. And the propaganda for the clean renewables also has a similar feel to my senses when I'm thinking, okay, they're trying to persuade you of something, and people are making it filthy rich. Because if you look at actual numbers and things, there's no switching from one energy source to another. When we come up with new energy sources as a civilization, the way this society is structured, we just add it to the existing bank of energy, and the population expands, and the demand and consumption for energy just increases. So, like I've said before, most people think that we switched over from using wood as an energy source to using fossil fuels as an energy source, so we don't burn wood anymore. That's not true. If you look at the numbers, we burn more wood now as an energy source than ever before in human history, because we've expanded. The whole enterprise has expanded. And so the fossil fuels was just added on top of that. And likewise, the coal, the solar, wind is just a little smear of a percentage up there at the very top, just being added to the massive fossil fuel consumption, amounts. And so it's a total delusion that we're switching over to the other one. What's actually happening is that all these companies and all their cronies are making filthy generational amounts of money off of this. They don't care if in 20 years all the solar panels are breaking apart, or the wind turbines are breaking apart and need totally replaced in 10, 20 years. They don't care about any of that. They just care that now they're making millions upon millions of dollars. Yes. Okay, well, let's tell them all that it's going to be a green energy future, which would be great. I mean, that would be great if that were possible. But I'm not seeing it. I'm not seeing it. So... Big Will Dog says, those huge industrial grow operations seem exactly what to expect when Skynet becomes reality and robots replace the humans who will build the whole setup. Yeah, Skynet, you're talking about from the Terminator movies. Now, I saw just a couple of weeks ago an interview from James Cameron, the guy who created the Terminator movies 40 years ago. And he says in this interview, he says, what we are witnessing now, and he knows because he's on the cutting edge of all of this, he says the technological revolution that is happening right now is much more terrifying than the Skynet that he conceived in those movies 40 years ago. He said, because now they can listen, the machine is listening to every word, every communication, every facial expression, every dilation of your pupils, all of this kind of stuff. They know how many loads of laundry you do. They know how many times you open your refrigerator, everything that's linked up to the system. The Borg, the machine, is feeding all this data, learning, programming the AI, yes? So he says that it's even much more terrifying than what he dreamed up in the Terminator movies. So let that sink in. Well, DLR, is that also an argument against growing food indoors in soilless mixes? Now, that depends what your goals are, okay? So by soilless mix, you basically mean any bagged soil. Any of your Miracle-Gro soils, any of that stuff, that's all soilless. It's actually, we call it bags of soil, but it's not. Soil is sand, silt, and clay with microbes in, okay? So there's no sand, silt, and clay. There might be a little bit of sand in some of those bags. But like peat moss and perlite and or even composted forest material, like they want to, it's composted forest material. Well, what does that mean? It just means wood chips that we get from the cheapest possible source. That's all that means. It's just wood chips. So that they put an enzyme on so that it can break down faster because they got to, come on guys, let's get more turnover. Yeah. So it's soilless mixes. Yeah. Now, they're not going to have the same nutrient. It's going to depend entirely upon what you're feeding them. Now, you can feed them good organic things, such as you can add worm castings into the soilless mix. And that's what I've started doing the past couple of years, and I really like that effect. Worm castings, because it's just cleaner than compost. I used to mix in compost, but then I would have all kinds of insects. But I'm getting the good worm castings from my guy Nick at the local worm farm. I got many bags of those worm castings, and so they're clean, and there's not a bunch of crazy critters in them and stuff, and they're full of good nutrients. They really are. When I make an aerated compost tea with predominantly those worm castings, which I do sometimes in the summertime, the day after I'll foliar everything in the whole garden. I'll literally just spray it over the entire garden. The next day I'll go out there and there's fuzzy white mycelium over everything, the ground and all of that kind of stuff. I mean, it's potent. It's amazing. So you can definitely do the soilless mixes in an organic way if you're growing, if you need to for food. But really, if you're growing indoors, I can't stress enough that you want to just be doing microgreens. You want to be doing microgreens and you want to be doing sprouts, guys. Sprouts take 5 days from start to finish, maybe 7 days if it's cool. But sprouts are the ultimate indoor crop filled with life force. Now, these are alfalfa sprouts, and this is what they look like. So I just started, I soaked these for 20 minutes or 30 minutes last night, and then I strained them out. All right. So then every 12 hours, watch my video on how to sprout. Every 12 hours, which basically is just when I wake up and when I go to bed. So it's not exactly 12, but that doesn't matter. So when you wake up in the morning, rinse them. And then before you go to bed at night, rinse them again. That's it. Then after about 3 days, they're going to go from this to about this. And then from this point, after about another 2 days, they'll fill this entire jar with fresh, crunchy, delicious sprouts that are bursting with digestive enzymes and life force and all kinds of amazing vitamins and minerals and energy, good energy. And so sprouts are one of the best things. And there's not enough time to even begin to get issues like there is with trying to grow indoors. So if we wanted to grow some plant indoors, and we have in our mind that we're going to grow in a soilless mix, and we're going to grow big plants indoors and harvest them just like we do outdoors, that's not the optimal thought process. That's not the optimal way to go in my experience, which is vast over these years, because I'm always trying to do it, always trying to push it. And so what I found though is to just stick with sprouts and microgreens when you're growing indoors, unless you have to grow something else. There's exceptions, but sprouts, guys, the best of all is the alfalfa sprouts, full of all kinds of good nutrients. Yeah. And if you want a little bit of chlorophyll, you can just let them in the sun, not direct sun, but in the light. See, I keep them in the dark, and that keeps them nice and crunchy white. Yeah. So these are super good. Now, that's what I recommend highly. Another good one is, let's see. Okay. Meyer Lemon says, Nate, shoot, let me try this one more time. Garlic is up 2 to 8 inches, rowing onions up 2, mulched well. Will they be okay through the winter when cold snow finally happens? Right, I said, where are you? I forget where you're at. So that depends. That depends. If you're somewhere in northern Canada, then it's going to be an issue. But I forget, are you in Tennessee? Or, because then that will be different. But the rowing onions will be fine. The rowing onions will be fine. Garlic will pretty much be fine too. So they are mulched well. Yes, they will be okay. Yeah. Preferably it will snow, because the snow will insulate the stuff. So yes, that's actually what you'll be fine. It's not ideal to have them that tall. Now, if it gets super cold, 0 degrees Fahrenheit or below with wind chills and there's no snow, then you'll want to cover that, because what has happened and what can happen is that the shoot of the garlic or the rowing onion, I haven't seen it happen on rowing onions, but I've seen it happen on garlic, where the shoot will act as like a wick. And if it's bitterly cold out and there's no snow cover, then the shoot will sort of desiccate. It'll wick any type of moisture out of the clove, and it will kill it. But that's only an extraordinary cold if there's no snow cover. So for the most part, you should be fine. Like, we won't even get that kind of cold around here anymore. We haven't got that kind of cold. It's been 10 years since we've had an actual winter where we had to like get out the snowblower and stuff like that. So yeah, that's what that is, my friend. That is my opinion on that. But the rowing onions will be fine. Zebra PT, time for this grandma to row. Thanks, Nate, very much for the show and for teaching us how to grow. Way to go. Oh, we got a rhymer on our hands, huh? Mafetang Maftan says, hey bro, can you please advise on how many plants can I have for home use of hibiscus? Now that depends. Typically 1 or 2 will be fine, because they will produce a lot of different blooms. So you have to get the blooms at the right time. But 1 or 2 should be enough. Home use of hibiscus, is that really what it is? Okay. Hydro says, vertical farm is only useful in dry desert areas. There is free solar energy, but you have to build your own farming system away from companies that sell expensive systems, but have the knowledge first. Okay, fair enough. I could see that. In the desert, yes. Now, my philosophy again, which is, it's not entirely practical, but I'm saying, I think in bigger system ways, is why are we living in the desert? Ultimately, why are we trying to build civilizations in the desert where nothing grows? We need to be building our civilizations where things grow easily, of course. So, that's kind of like a big trouble that California is running into. Even when I was there those years ago, it was always huge talk. Water and the depleting aquifers was huge talk. And it's like, well, okay, you drive through the Central Valley and you see it is a desert, but yet they're growing tons of stuff. Everything needs, it's like trying to have a popsicle stand in the desert. You're fighting against yourself. So, but that being said, we already have, establishments, of course, in the desert, deep in the desert. So, okay, I could understand. So vertical farming could be useful in the desert areas. I will give it that, definitely. Graham says, I've been watching an unhealthy amount of Charles Dowding on YouTube. He's extremely therapeutic and a joy to listen to. Have you seen him? Well, of course I've seen him. He's an OG in the game, for sure. They're at home acres. And so we're just going to take this little thing of this little transplant and tuck him in right there. And we're going to say hello. And then we're going to let him grow with the sunshine. Yeah. Yeah, it's therapeutic. His little English accent and everything. I mean, it's cool. I used to watch a lot of it. It's like a BBC network is what it feels like. Yeah. That's right. Mom Computer says, Nate, that's where the Eat Like a Viking channel will be helpful. Yes, it will be Cook Like a Viking, definitely. But yes, it will come for sure. It'll probably be late summer by the time that channel comes. Ooh, Everyday Alchemy says, G'day, Nate. G'day, Viking. Nice to find your channel. Common sense is a rare thing these days, but seems to be the normal here. Yeah, that's a good... I will take that. I will take that. He's talking about all of you guys as well. Ooh, yeah. HWIT 9000 says, I still have a 30-foot row of beets in the ground under a thick layer of mulch. I harvest as needed for making kvass and fermentations. I'm in the Cumberland Plateau in central Tennessee. Yeah, man. And that's what we'll do next year. I've done that several years in the past. Carrots and beets and turnips, it works really well to grow. And then when the real cold weather is about to set in, like when the days don't get above freezing, cut the tops off of all of them and cover in a thick layer of mulch. Straw is what I like to use. And they will stay like that all winter. They'll stay like that all winter, but you want that layer to be thick. I mean, make it so that, because it gets cold here, it can. And then you can just go there, pull that stuff and get one of them carrots, get one of them beets, turnips. It works really well for that. Yeah. DLR, that's a great point. I didn't even mention that. Sounds like says Meyer Lemon, sounds like you planted too early for your climate. Keep notes and next year plan to plant later to avoid excessive. 9 inches is too much. Oh yeah. Green growth before winter sets in. Yes. Ultimately, prevention is the way to do it. So that is correct. Yeah, that's the first question I should have asked. Why is it that tall? Why did you plant it so early? When the Viking philosophy is always, it's better a bit too late than too early when it comes to planting. Yeah. So most people, but man, you can't tell that to growers though. Most gardeners are just chomping at the bit. They just want to get their seeds started super fast. They want to get that garlic in the ground super fast. They just want to get it in the ground super fast. They're chomping at the bit. They just, got to get it in the ground. Got to start it right now. I'm late. So you're not. Okay. I plant my garlic literally this year was on maybe even the first week of December, I think it was. I mean, it was late and it's going to be perfectly fine. Last year it was November 25th was the garlic. And so perfectly fine. Not a problem. Everyone wants to plant it super early and then they run into issues and they're, what am I going to do? Because it's super tall and it could get desiccated. Wait next time. Very good point. Yes. All things that you learn, of course. Meyer Lemons. Okay. Captain Jerry says, hi, Nate. Captain Jerry living in New Jersey. When would you recommend starting onion seeds? I'm taking your advice and planting yellow of Parma. Same time as here. I would say same time as here. Yeah. So watch my video on onion starting because I can't remember the exact date right off the top of my head without thinking about it. But yeah, do that. Let's see. What's up, Aaron Johnson? Let's see here. Brad May says, I'm a microgreen farmer. Is that right? A microgreen farmer. Nice. That would be cool. I would like to see your setup. Because I just had a nice tour with Beth, Something Better with Beth, who also is growing and selling microgreens in the area. And we'll be making a video on that pretty soon, probably in about 2 weeks, give or take. But we just finished the last batch of mushrooms out at the Viking North plot. So I'll be making a video on that. Yeah, how we inoculated the mushrooms. We used the plugs this time. Yeah. So they have their pros and cons. They all have their pros and cons. Yeah, Big Will Dog says the only fuel source that the U.S. has reduced use of is nuclear energy, which is kind of backwards if you ask me. Yeah, I feel like I don't know enough, truly know enough about the whole operations and the whole impact and the whole thing about generating power from nuclear sources to be able to say. But a lot of people got an opinion on nuclear energy, thinking, well, just fire up the nuclear energy. Okay, I mean, I just don't know enough. Like I truly want to feel before I would ever promote that, I think the only solution is to dramatically reduce demand. That's the only solution. We have to dramatically reduce the consumption. And that's what nobody wants to talk about. Oh, no, because that's not good for business. That's actually terrible. That's the opposite of good for business. Reducing energy, because there is a direct correlation. Yeah, if you watch Chris Martenson from Peak Prosperity, which every one of you should watch if you're interested in these kind of things, then you will understand through his teachings, there is a direct correlation between energy consumption and GDP of a country. Direct. The higher the GDP, the more energy. It's direct. Without energy consumption, the GDP is non-existent. Energy is everything. Energy is everything. And so no one is going to want to talk about, we've all just, it's going to be, there has to be a collapse of some kind, because the current exponential rate of everything is just totally unsustainable on a finite planet. Something has to give dramatically, which is going to be crazy. Queen RB, $10. Thank you very much, my friend. Says, no question, just showing gratitude. Thank you for the contribution. I appreciate you. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Melanie Dennis. I don't want too many smart products. A phone and a computer are enough for me. Oh, yeah. No, but you got to have a smart washing and drying clothes dryer. But you got to have a smart. My friends were showing me, look at my new refrigerator. You see, it's smart. So there's 7 cameras and microphones on the inside of the refrigerator, so that all I have to do when I'm at the store is look, and I can look and see what's in my refrigerator. And then I can demand the AI to tell me, what am I running low on? And it will look into my refrigerator and show me that, oh, I need milk. Oh, okay. And I'm sitting there thinking, now, in what parallel universe is that necessary? Why did you have to spend $4,000 on this refrigerator? So it's smart. So it's got several. I mean, as soon as someone says to me, there's 7 cameras inside and 2 microphones on the outside, as soon as they say that to me, I'm thinking, sounds a little sus, don't you think? Because why was that necessary? Why was that necessary? Why don't you just look in there and use your memory and say, okay, well, we're running low on milk. Or if you forget it, you just don't get milk the old way. Look, see it? Thumbs up that. I didn't even prompt that thumbs up. So you just don't get milk if you forget it. How about that? And that'll help you to remember. Reinforcement. But no, it's super cool. And I'm just thinking, okay, well, every single thing, and the washer and dryer is on the smart grid, your water meter, everything. It's all being fed. Guys, it's pretty wild. Research the sentient world simulation. Yeah. I mean, if we were in person, we could have an in-depth talk about a lot of these things. But anyways, every single thing is being fed through the mainframe, through the board, through Skynet. So now, how do we protest all of that? How do we rebel? We grow our own food, and we opt out of the whole brainwashing thing by throwing the television out the window, and being very selective with our media sources, being very selective with our food sources, growing as much as possible. Yeah, training our body and mind to be resilient and strong. This is how we rebel. We thrive outside of their little game. That's right, Teets. That's exactly right. Soon we won't have a choice. We won't have a choice but the option to not buy a smart car. Oh, that's all the smart things, guys. Just think, we're only living in a transition period, okay? So there will come a time in the not distant future when even the old secondhand stuff is smart. You know, it's all by design, of course. So there will not be an option to opt out of this. You just have to learn how to live with it. So thank you very much, Mo. $5 via PayPal. Says appreciate you. Appreciate you too. Thank you, my friend. Appreciate the contribution, guys. Okay. Dawn Barb says, I grow mealworms for my chickens. They create a lot of frass. Can I use that in place of the worm castings? I have added a little, but haven't really laid it on thick. It's not the same thing. It's not the same thing. You can use it in addition to the worm castings, definitely, but it doesn't replace it. But if that's all you have, if that's what you have, definitely. That's very valuable. You can add that to the compost tea as well. So you can use it in place in like my compost tea recipes that I do, like from last year. You can see the video. You can add some of the frass in there, definitely. And that really helps. Yes. If you have that available, definitely. But it's not a replacement. They're different things. Okay, Big Will Dog says, nuclear fusion is the leap we need for a sustainable future. Homes could be powered by small units as well as vehicles in a safe and clean manner without waste like fission produces. Yes, okay, and I understand this. Now, here is my thought on that. Everyone wants to talk about, it's the way of the future, free energy, clean energy, unlimited clean energy. Finding some tesseract or something that just unlimited free energy for everyone would be the worst possible thing that could ever happen to humanity. Yeah. Because if you understand what energy is, it is the catalyst, it is the engine by which all other resources get consumed entropically. The law of entropy is always at work, from an ordered, usable state to a disordered, unusable state. So energy now is limited by cost and somewhat availability. If everyone has unlimited free energy to just consume as much resources as possible, that is exactly what it would do. It would just speed up the inevitable depletion of all the finite resources that are on the planet. So we actually don't want that to happen. Again, the only option is dramatically reducing consumption. I mean, by orders of magnitude. And no one's going to talk about that. I will, but no one's going to talk about that because that requires basically the collapse of this whole system that we have right now, which is inevitable in many ways. So that would not be, in my opinion, a leap forward. That would be one of the worst things that could happen. And if you don't understand, if people don't understand that yet, that's perfectly fine. But just research more and more and observe more and more and travel in the world and things more and more and see how energy is the catalyst by which all other resources are consumed. The more energy, the more everything else is consumed. The greater the GDP, the more everything else is consumed. Look at the levels of consumption in the highest GDP countries. It's all directly correlated. So, yeah, that's my. I could go on and on. So, absolutely. Can't see the forest for the trees says indigenous civilizations thrived in the desert Southwest. It comes down to culture. Absolutely. They thrived because they understood energy and they understood their energy source, which was the sun. And so they built their society and their civilizations based upon the cycles of the sun and the limitations of their energy base. Wood and the sun. And wood ultimately is sun energy as well. And so they built their societies to live within those constraints. They didn't try and build and grow and drill into the earth and pull out all these resources so we can grow. For what? I don't know, just to grow, so we can grow, because that's what we got to do, right? No, that it was a total. You're right, and they did thrive for millennia in these places because they understood carrying capacity of the environment. They didn't have scientists to explain it to them, but they intuitively, through generations of bumping up against those carrying capacities, and therefore they would exceed the kerosene. For sure, their forebearers, their ancestors, would sometimes exceed the carrying capacity of the land. Then there would be negative feedback loop, such as famine or disease, and they would die off. And then they would come to the understanding. Then they would develop customs that say, okay, we got to do it this way so that we don't exceed the carrying capacity of this ecosystem that sustains us. But we've just long forgot about all of that. Yeah. Yep. So, okay. Okay, Meyer Lemon says, I didn't plant too early. Planted November 29th, dealing with oddly warm winter so far, but will get a cold snap. I guess I'll get some freeze cloth. Okay, so if you planted November 29th, that's not too early, and it's just the warm weather, which is pretty crazy. I haven't even looked. Maybe I've got some growing. But again, if it's mulched, Queen RB, don't even worry about it. You'll be fine. You'll be fine. You'll be fine. Rob Dandy says Bluetooth microwaves now. Yeah. Oh yeah. Every single thing. There is smart coffee cups. Go to Costco and see the smart coffee cup. Wireless Bluetooth coffee cup that gets put onto a little smart thing to keep it at exactly 187.5 degrees. Well, shucks. You mean all I got to do is have another microphone in my house? And I can have my cup at 187.5 degrees? Well, sign me up. Hey, Alexa. Bing, bing. Yeah. Hey, adjust my temperature of my coffee cup. Okay. Because I'm always listening. So don't forget that. All you got to do is just say my name. I'm always listening. Okay, thanks. You see, I mean, what's the point? Why? So, anyway. Right. Mom Computer says, you reduce the energy consumption, the prices will rise because they want the money. You'll do with less and they'll still pump you. I have no furnace or air conditioning and they charge me like everyone else. Right. No, absolutely. That's the thing. It's a predicament. Okay. It's not really a problem. It's a predicament. A problem has a solution. A predicament, there's no solution. You just have to live with it. You have to deal with it. And that's really what we're in now. Is a societal predicament. Very, very tricky. So it will require a reset of the current way of doing things. Maybe we could even say a reset so great we could call it a great reset is what will be required to bring the civilization to a new, we don't know. We don't know. Exciting times, guys. Yeah, signal loss. Right, and that's what they'll say. What's weird is when milk shows up at your door because your fridge ordered it without you knowing. Right, and that's the kind of thing, that's what those people that are like, yeah, look, I don't even got to order it. So I don't even got to order milk. The refrigerator orders it for me. Well, okay, great. So what? You can spend an extra 5 minutes on the couch watching Netflix? Good. That's a victory, a marvel of technology. Good job. You know, no. Lynette, you're exactly right. AI will make us lazy mentally. And not just lazy, but incapable. It will atrophy. Our mental faculties will atrophy. And it's already happening. It's already happening. And so more and more, as AI takes over more and more things, our faculties of reasoning and comprehension will atrophy. Yes? Even Google, even when it's already started. When you Google things, guys, you remember how it used to be just a couple of years ago? You Googled something and it brought a list of websites. And then you could go to each website and research, okay, what is this? What is that? What is that? Still curated, still controlled, of course, but there was all these different websites you could go to. Now, when you Google something, it just generates an AI answer for you. It just generates here's the answer. Oh, okay. You don't got to go to all these. It just feeds you the answer. Oh, okay. So one more time that I don't have to use that neurological muscle that is comprehension and reasoning and thought. So each time that you bypass that neurological muscle gets weaker. And so it will atrophy in a very short time. So, man, we got way off today. But this is, I mean, I love talking about this kind of stuff. I mean, especially with you guys, because a lot of you guys are really clued in. Exactly. Big Will Dog says feds don't need to have wiretaps anymore due to you having audio video device that you willingly bring into your home. If it reacts to voice command, you're constantly being eavesdropped on. That's exactly right. Do you remember back in the day watching those espionage movies and stuff, and even that 1984 adaptation from the book, and it's all like people listening on the other end. You know, they got a wiretap in your house, and there's a bunch of guys listening. We never even considered that there would be some kind of alien technology so advanced that could simultaneously listen to every single input, every conversation, every heating input, and coordinate and process all of it. It knows what you're saying. It knows what you keep your smart thermostat at. It knows every little reaction based upon what current event is happening. People keep their house warmer. People buy more milk. People, all the trillions of points of data. It can just simultaneously process all of it. We never even considered that before. We always thought it'd be guys on the other end, the CIA eavesdropping on the other end. Oh, this person's saying that right down on a list. It is light years beyond that already. So, Matt Ware says, gonna start growing garlic, cilantro, and hot peppers to make hot sauces. Any suggestions on others I should grow to add to sauces? Thank you for bringing that up, because we are going to make wings today. Very, very rare that we will ever eat something like that, but it's a special occasion, so we're going to make hot wings. Now, we are going to utilize the homemade hot sauce, which I love Tabasco, this homemade Tabasco sauce, because so you use the actual Tabasco pepper and you ferment it. You ferment the mash with, you can add a few cloves of garlic or smoked garlic and salt. You ferment that, and then you mix it with the white vinegar to arrest the fermentation and to make it shelf stable after several months. And then you let it ferment even longer or mellow out. So do any of you guys have any good, we're just going to grill the wings and then put them in the sauce, which we're just going to mix this hot sauce with some butter. And I think that's about it. So what else would you guys be using? if you're making homemade wings like that. So Matt Wares, that's the other, but see how much more appetizing it is when I put it in these little bottles. You know, I put it in these little bottles. And so it's like, this doesn't look all that appetizing, but this is, and easier to use. Presentation is very important. But now I'm going to have to wash my hands after this, because that stuff, you rub your eyes, that stuff will burn your eyes like you just got maced in the face. So we don't want that. But no, I'm going to start growing garlic, cilantro, and hot peppers to make hot sauces. Now, I wouldn't be putting the cilantro in there. You know, you could, but greens, I feel like a lot of times they destabilize with time. So I would just ferment the hot peppers with some garlic. Yeah. But as far as hot sauces, poblanos, smoked poblano hot sauce is super good. The poblanos have got a great flavor, especially if you wait till the end of the season when they turn like a deep mahogany, and then you smoke them with some oak, like red oak, then then ferment them. Yeah, remove the seeds and then ferment them. Super good. So Silver Sage says, good morning, everyone. Loving this live stream. Baby is doing 1 week and kicking. I can't wait to garden this year with both my boys. I wish you a very healthy and successful experience, my friend. Let us all wish Silver Sage. Let us send some very good energy. Yes. I wish you the best. Now, DLR says, Matt Wares, if you can, get garlic for your hot sauces in the ground ASAP. Otherwise, it won't be ready for you to use till summer 2026. Now, actually, okay, I'm not sure where you're at, DLR, or what your experience has been. My experience has been you can still plant garlic in the springtime. You can plant it even when you can plant it. It won't be nearly as big, but sometimes it can be almost as big as the fall garlic. So you can plant it as soon as that soil is workable. You can plant it. It's still worthwhile. Yeah, and you will get garlic. It will start to grow immediately. So IF says, will you ever multiply labs with molasses? Like take a cup of labs, a cup of molasses, and throw it in a 5-gallon bucket to multiply? I tried it, but it was so molassesy, I didn't want to put in seeds. Yeah, that's I tried that many times over the years and stuff, and then it just doesn't work that way. It just doesn't really work that way. The labs is not the right type of bacteria for that. And so they don't really multiply like that. Now, you want to be careful using too much molasses, because if you're using too much molasses, you will attract aphids. Mark my words. You'll know if you're using too much molasses, you'll start having aphids everywhere. Yeah, they love that stuff. Donald, he says, thanks for turning my Alexa on, Nate. Yeah. Hey, Alexa, set an alarm for 2:30 a.m. in the morning utilizing horror movie sounds, please. Let's see here. Yeah, AK Froggy says, we need to ignore the oligarchs and reset the world ourselves. Yeah, you know how we do that? By resetting our life. Exactly. Resetting our life. To focus, the most important thing is to get as happy, healthy, and strong as you possibly can right now, and resilient. That's the most important thing. Don't wait for some time in the future. Don't wait for somebody to be in the White House or get elected or something. None of that's going to make any difference. What's going to make a difference is you awaken. If you awaken, and you awaken, and you awaken, I'll awaken, we're all awake all of a sudden. That's how nature does it. It takes care of itself. And so we begin by taking absolute control of what goes into our body, our food, and also the information. and the infotoxins that enter us, but definitely the food. We get things happening in our life like this that are going to be conducive to a thriving body. Most people don't even understand how much their food is affecting their psychological experience of the world. Endocrine disruptors and out of balance hormones and everything. It all starts with what you're putting in the body. It really does. And so, so many things are just symptoms of this. And so eating dead, depleted food, you can't thrive. But eating living food that's raised consciously, full of nutrients, absolutely is the way, my friends. And so, for example, so I've got several different layers. So these are hard red winter wheat berries. And I'm growing wheatgrass in the basement. We have several trays of them at different stages because we juice the wheatgrass. Wheatgrass is on a level all of its own. But also one thing that I like to do is to make Rejuvelac. How many of you guys have experience with Rejuvelac? Look at them bubbles already. Look at them bubbles. See, guys, we sprout the ferments, or we sprout the, so this is day one, all right? Then after about 3 days, they start to grow a tail on them. They start to grow the roots. Then we ferment them. And this is only 15 hours into the ferment, okay? And it's already getting them bubbles. Look at all them bubbles. Now, after about 2 or 3 days, we're going to start tasting it, and it's going to be nice and tangy and super effervescent. It's going to be just tons of bubbles. This is full of lactobacilli, tons of good nutrients in this. And this is what we drink. You only need a few shots. So strain it off, put it into a separate container, and keep it in the refrigerator for like a week. And every day, take a 3 or 4 ounces of it. Yeah? Super good for your digestion and for your all kinds of stuff to help if you have dysbiosis, yeah, which is the root cause of so many things that we attribute to other stuff. Get your gut microbiome right by making something such as Rejuvelac, such as these fermented foods, such as the fermented hot sauce, such as the sprouts. All the tools are there, okay? So, Drew Black says, Nate, I love your common sense analysis. Thank you, my friend. I'm glad many of you are vibing with this. It's hopeful when you talk like this, because I don't just go out to people and start talking like this, you know, because I'm like, oh, okay, that's a little much, a little intense, you know, but it's great to be able to, some people are, you know, many people are like, yeah, I'm seeing the same thing. I agree. It's like, yeah, okay, good. Big West says, the fridge decides it's in your best interest to lock the door. Yeah, and so also the board decides that it's time to shut off your vertical farming system. Sorry, if you want to eat, then you need to pay your bills or whatever. Yeah. Croncor says, tech is overrated. We are no happier than people thousands of years ago. Yeah, and actually, I would say much less happy, because when I traveled in the world and going to remote villages, people living very simply, guys, I just so wish that I could share with you all of these experiences. But I mean, like National Geographic villages. I went on an insane 10-year trip, basically. And it's far out: India, Nepal, Thailand, Vietnam, Cambodia. I mean, just, you know, and then in Greece and Albania and all over the place. Okay. And what I witnessed was people living simpler in villages with no television and no electricity and stuff, but they had each other. They had a level of connection that Americans are totally unaware is even possible. Even families in America that think they're tight-knit and together pales in comparison to village life. Because in America, even, we're still a bunch of individuals acting as a family. But they're not individuals. They're one unit. It's totally different. And so, but it's so easy to smile not stressed out about things. It's a totally different pace of life. So anyways, Mo says, as long as the Great Reset is different from the World Economic Forum's Great Reset, which includes advancement in AI. Oh, absolutely. Guys, if you don't know the guy Mo Gaudat, he's another very good one to listen to. Your name just reminded me of that. Another good one to listen to about what is happening in AI. Just if today's talk seems a little far out there, just look up some interviews, some presentations from Mo Gaudat, Gowdat. He's a former chief something officer at Google, but resigned once he now knows what is happening with AI. And he says in the next 2 to 10 years, we will see more technological change than in the last 200 years. Think of that. So, yeah, it's I've listened to a lot of it. Okay, so it's a really great thing. But yeah, it all comes down to getting our own world right. Yeah, your own corner of the earth. So okay, guys. Well, let's. It's been crazy today, and I was way behind. I'm gonna go through and read some of this stuff. Yeah. Okay. Good. So you know Mo Gaudat. Yeah. Mo says, Mo Gaudat is a great connection. I wasn't even thinking. Yeah, definitely. So, yeah, Wit says, but you must eat the bugs. Yeah. Um, well, part of that, well, there's layers upon layers of psychological conditioning that are happening with that. But also, once they know that the soils are going to stop yielding like they do, and the food system will collapse, you can grow bugs real easily. Yeah. Um, this is very true. Signal Law says, on the street, people don't wait for you to give a well thought out philosophy of things. No, they don't. They definitely don't. So, okay, guys. Well, I will go back and read some of these comments and stuff. I missed a lot of them, but it's all good. So, thank you guys all for being here. I got to get to my brother's house now because I've got to dog sit his Australian Shepherd. And me and Camille and Tegan, we are going to utilize that opportunity to watch a couple of movies. Guys, neither of us have a television. So we don't, never in our whole time together so far have we watched a movie. I can't even remember. I mean, so we're going to use that opportunity to watch a movie. I know, getting fancy. So it'll be cool, guys. All right. So yeah, hit the like button and do all your shopping on Amazon through the Viking storefront. Definitely. We need that. So there was other things I wanted to talk about, but we'll talk about them next time. Okay. So we'll see the Thrive Tribe at 10:30 a.m. Eastern Time on the Nate Muri channel, also known as the Thrive channel. We will see all of you guys right here next week. And remember, don't be starting your seeds yet unless you live in some crazy zone or something. So we will talk in the upcoming, I'll probably make a video here in the next few weeks about what seeds I'm ordering and why and what would be good timing for things like that. Okay. So yeah, and guys, don't forget the Urban Gardener. He's got the podcast that he'll be starting in a few minutes. He always has great guests on there today. So you guys can check that out. All right. And Graham Devine says, A Dog's Purpose is a fantastic movie. Oh, that might be good. Maybe I'll look that up. Okay, thank you. Oh, wow. Sal says, 100% speaking facts, Nate. I am originally from a village in Bangladesh. The life is so different from UK prison life. And we had all organic fruit trees like jackfruit, mango, guava. Yeah, guys, I know. I'm really close to, I was definitely a little bit in the past, really tight with these group of Sri Lankan people that have come over, and they started a Buddhist temple here, and that's where I was teaching meditation there and stuff like that for a couple of years. And and I talked to the monks, and I talked to the Sri Lankans and stuff that have all come over here, and they're totally 100% assimilated in the culture now. And pretty much without fail, every one of them is like, yeah, it's great here, but our whole life it was like, America, go to America, the land of milk and honey. Everything's amazing. Everything's just blissful, amazing, all this stuff we have. And they're like, yeah, but we're missing something. Everyone's so alone. I talked to the monks even, and they're like, yeah, things are just really different here. Everyone is so alone. Even when they're with family, they're still alone. The culture from the very foundation is just isolating. And so many of them, once they're done here in America making their money, being like a doctor or an engineer, most of them, they'll go back to Sri Lanka. They're like, yeah, nah, we're going to live the rest of our life in Sri Lanka, where there's like family and village and togetherness and living with the land and stuff like that. So stuff to think about, guys. All right. Thank you so much. I very much so enjoyed today's talk. We will see you guys next time. All right.